average age in Japan, especially the rural Japan, is higher than retirement age. In the next 10 years, more than 800 different cities, towns are going to be disappearing. If you want to see authentic Japan, there are more tourist traps along the Golden Route, more than ever. Travelers will travel along the Golden Route. You might be paying something that's not really authentic, you might be paying something twice the price.
Bueno, ¿qué tal? ¿Cómo están? Estamos aquí con Tony de Llama Trips. Él es un influencer, el cual se dedica a hacer outdoor. Y bueno, el día de hoy va a hacer una entrevista. Él habla inglés, así que let's change language.
Awesome.
All right. So, can you please just present yourself?
Okay, nice to meet you guys. I am Tony from Yama Trips, and Yama Trips is all about empowering people to travel to the less traveled destinations. For example, the mountains, through hikes. Actually, most of Japan, 75% is mountainous. So if you're only limiting yourself to city travel, you're only exploring 25% of Japan. Our vision is to help people access the rest of Japan, the other 75%.
All right, well, it's a pleasure to also have an interview with you about this topic. There's a lot of things I want to ask you, actually, starting with the topic of over-tourism in Japan, which I think is pretty big nowadays.
Sure. Actually, there's a data that the government releases every year showing just where, it's like a heat map, showing where foreigners are staying and enjoying Japan. And it's very dense in two cities, Tokyo and Kyoto. But if you look at the rest of Japan, it's almost invisible. However, if you look at the local travel data on just how many tourists are in Japan, traveling in Japan, you'll see that actually 80% of tourism is actually domestic. However, because domestic people living in Japan, they know all these other places, they try to avoid crowded areas. But that's because they know Japan better. They have more accessibility, people have cars, people know where to go. However, foreigners, due to lack of information and just improper marketing, most foreigners are trapped in a few prefectures, namely Tokyo, Kyoto, and some Osaka. So we really want to help you guys discover other parts in Japan, just like how locals get to access all these other places. For example, Shikoku, for example, Tohoku, very beautiful. You'll barely find any foreigner there. However, from the people who actually travel there, they've always had very pleasant reviews. So definitely, I recommend looking into other parts of Japan if you want to avoid over-tourism.
Well, with that being said, just taking this video because we're gonna be talking more into depth about the problems of over-tourism, as well as what they're doing to solve all these issues. So let's get started with more of the questions into depth.
Let's do it.
We had the chance to talk a little bit behind the scenes, and you told me that you've been living in Japan for quite a while now, right?
Yes. I've been living in Japan for 16 years. I was here as a kid from 6 years old to 11 years old. I was studying Japanese back then. My family moved to Canada. I became a Canadian citizen, but I really love Japan, so I came back on my own. I've been working here for 12 years now. First 4 years, I was employed by the local government in Mie Prefecture. And then I moved to Tokyo, experienced a corporate world, a very different side of Japan. Fast-paced, of course, working as a salaryman. I have lots of stories on that. Last year, I got my permanent residence status. So with that, I wanted to pursue my dream of helping people discover authentic Japan.
From what moment, did it arise to you that, okay, this is an actual problem and maybe I can be part of the solution?
When I was living in rural Japan, I was on the JET program, and I was doing translation, interpretation. I was helping with inbound tourism efforts. And there, I saw that there were so many challenges. Right, challenges to rural Japan. Just to name a few, the rural Japan is actually, people there live a very slow life. It's good in some ways, but it's not so great when it comes to the local economy. So I really wanted to, after I moved to Tokyo, I really wanted to eventually go back to rural Japan support the local economy. And the one thing that I realized that I could help with is inbound tourism, to help bring foreigners to rural Japan, but at the same time also that'll support the local economy. For example, I used to live in Matsusaka. They put so much time and effort in raising these cattle. However, because the brand is not so well known compared to established beef brands such as Kobe beef, they sell at maybe half the price overseas. It's a problem because the number of cattle farmers in Matsusaka is decreasing every year. So if I can find a way to help people realize just how delicious they are, or get more people to visit Matsusaka to enjoy the authentic Matsusaka beef, that could help support the local cattle farmers. But basically my goal, my vision is to help support rural economy because I was there myself.
Regarding, living in the rural side of Japan, I want to actually know, like, what is something that you learned that maybe people, that a lot of foreigners, for example, may not know about this problem?
Okay, so the government releases data on the number of municipalities that are in risk of disappearing. When I say disappearing, I don't mean they just vanish. It's more like they don't have enough people to sustain the community. So they have to be absorbed into a bigger city, into a bigger town or bigger city. And the number is actually astounding. In the next 10 years, more than, I don't remember off the back of my head, but it's about 800. It's about 800 different cities, towns, mostly towns and villages are going to be disappearing, absorbed into bigger or neighboring cities, neighboring towns. Average age in Japan, especially the rural Japan, is higher than retirement age. So you're looking at 60s and 70s. For example, last year I was visiting a farmer in Fukushima, and the average age of farmers in that area is actually 68 years old. In Mie, down in Mie, there are people who are ama divers. They're pearl. They go, they dive sustainably. They don't wear like a suit. They don't have oxygen tanks, and it's a very sustainable way of catching. Basically, they catch clams, different types of clams. And the average age of ama-sans, like they're called ama divers, the average age is around 65. It's a big issue, right? Because you think about it, right now they're 65, but what about 10 years later? There are no new ama divers. There are barely any new ama divers going to this industry. It's very traditional, right? That basically it's going to be gone in 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. Lots of beautiful traditions are pretty much just dying out. So is there other ways that we could help preserve these traditions, these cultures, these lifestyle? I think if there's something I can help with that, then there are many temples. However, most people don't know that each year about more than 100 temples disappear. There are about 80,000 temples and 80,000 shrines. How do temples make money? Temples make money when people pass away. They host, the temples have graveyards. They host rituals, like for example, when someone passed away, I forgot the name of the ritual, but they make money when people pass away. And so if there's less people in Japan, the less money they make. Same with shrines. Shrines make money from the community. Each community has a shrine or two, and the community members, every year they donate a percentage of their income to the shrines. So if there are less people, then there's less donation, so the shrines will slowly die out. It's a trend. The trend is increasing, it's accelerating. So in 20 years, 30 years, there may be only a handful of shrines that you can visit.
Okay, heading back to the topic of over-tourism. Sure. So what's the outlook for Japan and over-tourism in the next few years, in your opinion?
I kind of need to explain a little bit about the history of why this problem even happened in the first place. Back in 2013, I think it was around 2013, 2014, I'm not sure if I should be criticized. I'm not trying to criticize, but the national government pretty much came up with this idea, this plan. By 2030, they're going to increase the annual visitors, the number of visitors, right, to 60 million. Back then, it was 2014, 2015, it was around 20 million. So they wanted to triple. the number. And in order to triple the number, they had to, all the marketing was done so that more people can enjoy Japan. However, rural Japan, most of Japan, they don't have accessibility, right? Accessibility is an issue, language barrier was still an issue. This is before ChatGPT. So most people ended up visiting the same location, the Golden Route. So now the government, they wanted more people, they wanted 3 times more numbers of tourists, but they didn't have new destinations that they could get people to visit. So this created over-tourism. Instead of 1 person in Kyoto, it's 3 people in Kyoto. So that's the problem of over-tourism. They started to realize it 2 years ago. This is 2022, when COVID subsided and the border opened around October. The goal is still hitting the 60 million mark. But instead of hitting the 60 million mark, only leveraging the Golden Route, it was more about expanding the destination, the potential areas that people can visit. So with that effort, the central government has been giving out millions and millions of dollars of subsidies to empower these local government, local tours, local hotels and restaurants, so that they can promote themselves, so they can build infrastructures, say install Wi-Fi, install translation devices. The number of tourists will still increase, however, people have more destination to discover. However, it is still up to you guys to be willing to look for these new alternative destinations, because the marketing power, most of the money is still within the city. So Tokyo, Osaka, Kyoto has the biggest, highest marketing budget. So if you only look online, if you only look on the surface level research, you'll mostly find information around those places. But if you're willing to put in the time to look for alternative routes, alternative destinations, they are now available for you to explore. It's up to you guys to put in the time to do a bit of a deeper research. And it's also at the same time, the local government, they are doing their best to make themselves more marketable and more visible.
Yeah, and that's why I also recommend you guys, if you want to check out more about a different Japan, different places, that you subscribe to his, you're gonna have a new YouTube channel soon, right?
Yes, we are actually creating a brand new YouTube channel. We're gonna be analyzing numbers, because I realized most content about Japan, it's about beautiful destinations, the experience that people actually had. However, very few people actually base their content on numbers. There are actually thousands of data. The national government releases pages and pages of presentations. So I'll be analyzing them. I'll be turning those data into useful information to help you guys avoid over-tourism, to help you guys avoid paying premium prices, to help you guys find these destinations, traveling smart in general, so you're not stuck in traffic, you're not paying double for hotels. So yeah, that's gonna be the focus of the new YouTube.
Heading back to the previous thing you were saying about people searching for themselves.
Yeah.
Actually, if I was someone that has never been to Japan, how can you convince me that it's worth to explore more parts of Japan other than this, Tokyo, Kyoto, Osaka Golden Route?
Now, the Golden Route, definitely, if it's your first time into Japan, the Golden Route has its merits. It's very easy. The Golden Route is only the Golden Route because of the Shinkansen, or the bullet train that connects them. So if you're the type of person who wants easy accessibility, you're carrying huge suitcases, and you want to do lots of shopping, you want just a easy experience, then definitely stay on the Golden Route, because that's easy. However, if you want to see authentic Japan, because everything has to do with money. Tokyo, Kyoto, Osaka they have got so much money now. When you have money, what you want is more money. So you have these companies, they create these services, charge more, that charge a premium, because they know that tourists that come to Japan, they have money. There are more tourist traps along the Golden Route now more than ever, because people know that the travelers will travel along the Golden Route, and what that means is that anyone can come into this market, put themselves on the golden route. The services, they can charge double, not doing your research. If you're not doing actual research, you might fall into these traps. You might be paying something that's not really authentic. You might be paying something twice the price. You might be visiting a place thinking on Instagram, the place might be beautiful, but when you actually go there, it might be completely different. You're surrounded by thousands of other people. It's completely up to you, right? If you don't want to put in the research, that's completely fine. If you're okay with becoming, if you're falling into tourist traps, it's completely fine. However, I want to give you the option so that you have more choices. Oh, this is difficult. I want to sound like it's okay to go along the golden route, but at the same time, do you really want to? Right? It's easy, but nothing easy is actually worth anything of worth is not easy.
I think what we're trying to say is like the golden route, we recommend it, but we also encourage you to explore a different Japan, even if it's your first time. But we're not saying don't visit Tokyo.
Exactly.
Just try to search for something else. There's a lot of beautiful places, right?
Yeah. The golden route pretty much is golden because it's got the money, right? Every places along, every town, every business along the golden route, they have so much money. They already have people visiting, so they have a lot of money. They do more marketing, and more marketing creates more money. It's your first time in Japan. You don't want to take some risk. You don't want the stress. Then it's completely fine. But you'll find yourself in many situations where it's considered like a tourist trap. Yeah.
Okay, very quick last question. Which place do you recommend us the most?
This is so difficult. This question is so difficult. So if there's one prefecture, if we're talking about one area, it could be anywhere in Japan. I really, really love Hokkaido. If you're visiting Japan in the summer, you'll realize just how hot and humid most of Japan is. So if you're coming into Japan around the summer, Hokkaido is really the difference. It's really this one area that I highly recommend. Also, they have great food, seafood, lots of farms, lots of vegetables, lots of land. So Hokkaido is great for the summer. But if I just pick one location, it's too difficult. If it's a winter, anywhere with onsen, any town with onsen, it's great for the winter.
Anyways, thank you so much for your time, Tony. If you want to know more about Japan and all of this kind of like outdoorsy or more like the authentic Japan, I would definitely suggest you follow him. Suscríbanse para que sepan más sobre cómo es la vida aquí en Japón y bueno, también los lugares secretos y muy auténticos de Japón. Well, thank you so much, Tony.
Thank you.
See ya.